I really, really hate being woken up. And sometimes it's almost like my bed is my altar, and every night I lay down on it and say, okay, here I am, take me now. And maybe it's not exactly like that, but just imagine me, I'm offering my gift on the altar, sound asleep in my comfy bed, and this irritating voice sounds in the back of my head. It sounds a little bit like this. Yeah, a little bit like that. And I'm like, this is a weird dream. Like, is this my conscience? Lord, is that you? And I hear it again. It's like, I open my eyes and it's still there, and it's coming from the bathroom that Austin and I share, and it becomes quickly apparent that it was not Jesus and it wasn't my conscience, but in fact it was Austin doing a 6:30 a.m. singing in the shower cover on a Saturday morning of Keith Green. Yeah, so a quick moment, who knows who Keith Green is? If you're under 40, you probably don't, because he was a Christian hit singer from the 70s and 80s, and I'll give you a little bit of a picture if you don't know what he's like. Keith Green's music is a little bit like if Freddie Mercury sat down at the piano and sang directly from the manuscript of a Billy Graham sermon in his early 20s. It's a little bit what Keith Green is like. Yeah, and I as much as anyone, I appreciate a good singing in the shower. I mean, I was a music major. But here's what gets me. We all know people that can't sing. All right, for me, the prime example is David Leggett. If you've ever heard David Leggett sing, you just kind of have to sit there and feel bad for him for a minute. And it's like, you get used to it after a minute, though. It's like, he can't help it. It's not his fault. The thing that gets me, though, is people that can almost sing. People that, they can hold a tune most of the time. And they can sing well, but every fourth or fifth note, it's kind of like a squirrel jumped in their throat, got a hold of their vocal cords, and, tore them out. And this is Austin. And so instead of, we'll play a little more of that song. Nice, Freddie Mercury sounding voice, you get something like, you put this love in my heart. And you know what, despite all of this, I'm very patient in my head. I'm like, okay, you know what, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but I'm sure that the song will be over soon, and he'll get out of the shower, and I can go back to sleep. But no. No. Not only did Austin not get out of the shower for 30 more minutes, but he had the song on repeat. And so finally, right around 7, as I'm about to get up and bust the door down and before I go insane, the shower shuts off and I breathe a sigh of relief. Thank God. But the music keeps going. In fact, not only can I still just hear 4 out of the 5 notes of Keith Green, but the razor on top of that. And so needless to say, I did not go back to sleep. And when the door opened, probably a half an hour later, I honestly expected to see Party Jesus with a perm and a tie-dye shirt walk out. However, if you know Austin, you probably are not very surprised by this story. In fact, you may have had your own experience with Austin's fantastic timing. And I just want to dive in a little bit to that. That's what I was going. The moment has passed, Jonathan. I'm diving in. Anyways, I just want to get beneath the surface of this. I have a little theory that I like to call Heathering time. And so Austin has a incredibly difficult personality dilemma because he's not only a procrastinator, but he's a perfectionist, something I like to call a procrastinist or a perfectinator, if you like. In other words, all the work that Austin does has to be excellent. I mean, top-notch, best of his ability, but there are a couple of very important rules that are almost never broken. Okay, very important. This is the first one. If this thing has no time limit, then whatever it is must be done in approximately 6 times the amount of time it should normally take. Okay, that's Heathering time rule 1. Heathering time rule 2 is, if this thing does have a due date, it has to be begun in the absolute shortest amount of time possible beforehand. Just look at today, for example. It is absolutely amazing to me. And you may not know this about Austin, but he's he's actually a genius. I mean, the guy got a full ride to USC as an out-of-state student. He was part of the top scholars program at Honors College and a freaking biomedical engineering major. I mean, he's very smart. And you would think that having all of that going for him also would be super on top of it. I mean, finishing assignments a week before they're due, keeping a calendar to the T, never missing a detail. But somehow he did something even more impressive. He made college adapt to Heathering time. At Life Group in college, Austin would regularly say, hey, if anybody wants to come over after this, I'll be working on this 12-page research paper I haven't started yet. Let's do it at 8 a.m. And yeah, feel free to come over. And I was like, dude, you're screwed. Like, there's absolutely no way you're gonna get this done. And yet he did, time after time after time. And fast forward to graduation, I'm in my seat and I look down at the program, and this guy is like summa cum. Like, literally, my blood is boiling. I mean, here I am, a music major, struggling to get my compositions done that I've had the entire semester, and I was happy with my 3.6. It's like, even last week, this is happening. I don't know if you know this, but last week, in preparation for this, we had to write a 5 to 10 minute Bible study for res class, and I had slowly been working on mine through the weekend, and on Monday, I came up to Austin, I was like, hey man, do you want to practice tonight? Like, do you want to do it for each other so that we can see how good we are? And he's like, dude, I really wish I could, but, honestly, I haven't started it yet, and I probably won't have time until late tonight. Classic. So I would never tell him this, but I was totally expecting it. I was totally expecting it to bomb. I was like, this is gonna be horrible. Like, I'm just like, this is gonna crash and burn. And instead, he absolutely killed it. I mean, it was like one of the best ones. And like, meanwhile, mine went overtime, and I didn't even get to the most important part. I worked on it for like a week. I must say though, Heathering time has had a little bit of a harder time adapting to Midtown time, as it will. And this is the last thing I'll talk about, although just like a conversation with Austin, I could go on forever. One of the things that I'm still repenting from since I started working here is the smugness that I felt after our first residency newsletter. I mean, it was July or maybe early August, so like as a college resident, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about, but I gave a pretty good summary of what we've been working on, and gave some life updates, some prayer requests, and even had a little funny section at the end. It was like 5 paragraphs total. Megan gave me some notes. I fixed some things, sent it out the day or two before it was due, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. Fast forward to 3 days later, it's 2 days after the newsletter is due, and Austin still hasn't sent out anything, and I'm a little confused because I've seen him like typing furiously at his computer for days. And I was worried, so I went up to talk to him and asked him how it was going, and I immediately saw the problem. Or rather, I couldn't see the end of the problem. Just Austin's notes for the newsletter ran this Google Doc probably 7 pages long after he edited it. And so fast forward probably a week and a half later, and I haven't thought about it in a while, and still no newsletter from Austin. So finally he talks to Megan, they get something sorted out, and it's Saturday, and Austin sits on the roof of our house, and sure enough, later that night, I get an email with his name on it, and I was a little surprised because it was Saturday, and there was no way that he could have run this by Megan before sending it out, and 2, it was 9 p.m., and so I was just like, you know what the heck, I'll give it a read. I open it up, and the first thing I notice is that this email has to buffer. This email buffers for probably 10 seconds. And so I'm slightly concerned, and I scroll down to the heading, and there at the top it says, Chapter 1. And as I watch the scroll bar just go down and down and down, I begin to wonder if this was really his newsletter or the first ever residency novel. And I tell you what, if that assignment had been a monthly residency novel, he would have gotten 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. I mean, I made it a quarter of the way down and had to give my eyes a rest. And about halfway, I had to stand up and like stretch and walk around a little bit. And about the time that I pushed through to the finish an hour later, Austin walks in and goes, "Hey, did you get my newsletter?" And I just like smiled and nodded, and I started looking up how much prescription eyeglasses cost in preparation for reading Chapter 2. Yeah. And I talked to Austin about doing this before, so he knows that I love him. But this is just, like I said, a taste of all the things I get to deal with as Austin's roommate. Thank you so much.